Reverse Abiogenesis. Prologue. My daily existential crisis is a comforting thing, actually. In college, I learned how to sell my blood for beer money, and that I had the ability to fall immediately in love with girls who didn't even know my name. We are the endnotes of the human experiment, the last to be promised any semblance of hope, and the first witnesses to the collapse of all grand social narratives, until only the shattered remnants of context left understandable are those that humble our stature and display our great follies. We find that we are no better than the beasts of the earth, that our divine right to preside over the fate of the world's biological and ecological systems is a farce, that we are never imbued with meaning or purpose or protection, that our destinies are our own to make, that we have scorched the earth and stripped her of her beauty, unceremoniously raiding all of her natural possessions that we thought we could put a price on, that we in our own hubris saw the writing on the wall and did nothing, our brilliant society of unimaginable advances unable to abandon our ruinous trajectory just because it turns out that the human construct of power attracts the insecure. I may be dramatic, but because of other sentient organic matter possessing an unquenchable and unholy thirst for petroleum, I get to watch Gaia bleed in real time, and the frustrating and terrifying part of it being that I am so bored of the dysfunction, so exhausted of the dire news, I resigned to weeks lethargic in my bed, desperately trying to find something to stimulate the dopamine receptors in my brain that had ceased firing at some indeterminate time during puberty. You and I will stroll down to the riverbank and watch the crystalline water spill over the rocky bed, ethereal light casting a divine shimmer while scattering off the dew. As we wash the grime and the waste in the synthetic plastics and the viscera from our hands, we begin to feel the barrier between our corporeal form and the world external obscure and vanish. We were and are and will be stardust that had sat up, and like all stardust and mud and matter forged by archaic supernova, we must lay back down the elaborate machines of our physical beings forged by biology, torn asunder by the far more ancient and calamitous forces of physics. The great shining metal constructs bearing the likenesses of our most famed and ruthless weather way through the eons, unnoticed by the natural forces that had in the first place laid the groundwork for scared, cold primates to look up to the heavens and consider their place in the infinite expanse. At the end of our world, you and I will sit by the river and marvel that we got to experience any of this splendor born of pure chance, that despite the indescribable tragedy of humanity's well-meaning devastation, we still got to witness miracles and sing our love and share our pain. We are forever frozen in amber, one perfect instant of time when the universe recognized itself and named itself and tried to understand exactly why it felt so alone. I hold you in my arms and close my eyes as my unfiltered thoughts finally come to rest. Everything will be okay because everything is okay, because everything was okay, because everything has to be okay. It could only have ever happened this way because it is happening this way. Our destinies are threaded by every second and every action as we are blissfully unaware how that string will unravel our fragile existence when fate or luck or God wills it so. I got a record player for Christmas, and because of the commodified nostalgia, I yearned for a place and time when everything was simpler and the world could be talked about in terms of black and white, and human life was supposed to be getting better as computers became smaller and knowledge was pushed ever further. I ordered records off the internet, the click of a button setting off a complex Rube Goldberg machine of human suffering just so that I could listen to Kanye in marginally better quality within 2 days. 1. In the beginning. Molten rock and ore churn miles beneath the seabed. Indescribably hot and dense magma rises up a convection current in the lithosphere and through a weak spot in the newly formed crust to superheat water in the deepest underwater trenches, spewing sulfur and organic material in the ink-black watery abyss. The processes that had formed all such bigger than hydrogen elements in the first place span many billion-year star cycles of life and death, material left over from the siren songs of a trillion suns gravitationally coalescing, fashioning the Earth from a protoplanetary disk of dust and rock in the violent years following the birth of the all-giving Sun, itself a production of gravitationally coalescent hydrogen gas within a nebular womb. The sulfur and iron ions spewed forth by the seafloor vent form a surrounding layer of precipitated mineral deposits, inorganic surfaces that proved ideal for facilitating simple chemical processes that could take advantage of the mineral layer's electromagnetic gradient, harnessing energy held in excess by the vent's emissions, and in exchange, building longer and longer linkages of polymers assembled from various chains of simple organic-based molecules. These processes are at some time bound within a partially hydrophilic membrane, chemically separating an internal environment from that of the external, and granting mobility to chemistry's elegant energy processors. Like all life and like all matter, these unthinking biochemical motors are constrained only by entropy, the unwavering linear trends steadily converting the net energy of the universe to chaos and disorder. Entropy proves to be so fundamentally entwined with time's immutable progression forward that the two processes cannot be described as separate phenomena at all. Time is entropy, entropy is time. The past is unchangeable as the future continually proves to be. The marvelous sacks of metabolic processes begin to react to external stimuli and code their chemical instructions within chains of nitrogen-based nucleic acids. They learn to grow and divide and grow and divide, conscripting themselves to forever breathlessly outrun cosmic oblivion through succession, until the day oblivion inevitably catches up. Thus is the humble beginning of life, it is said. Abiogenesis. Billions of years of geological forces and cycles of competition for life, for death, or sex, selected for all the traits that result in every fiber of one's self purpose with the intention to survive, to think, to read, to feel, to judge, to analyze, to mold, and to be molded by the world. 2. At the end. Microbial life dwells beneath the ocean bed. These simple oceanic bacteria bearing superficial resemblance to the protocells that had first emerged some 4 billion years prior. Sequestered by precise conditions of temperature and pressure, the deep sea pockets are filled with the most basic of hydrocarbons as the single-celled organisms perform their vital functions in the absence of oxygen. The decomposer cells break down and absorb larger detritus and organic matter accumulated on the seafloor following the deaths of innumerable generations of every species that ever considered the ocean to be home. Heterotrophic metabolisms harvest organic molecular chains for energy and synthesize simple gaseous byproducts with the waste carbon. Methane, a molecule of 1 carbon and 4 hydrogens, is capable of trapping the sun's traditionally nourishing ultraviolet energy 100 times more efficiently than its cousin of much renown, carbon dioxide. Externally, hairless bipedal mammals extract liquid hydrocarbon reservoirs from deep within the earth, placed there by other generations and species of decompositional microbes. The hydrocarbons were consumed in vast quantities due to their relatively efficient energy returns when used in combustion, a type of chemical reaction that consumes oxygen and fuel and in turn releases energy in the form of heat and light. Additionally produced is carbon dioxide gas, pumped into the atmosphere in such volume over a span of 100 years that the increase in solar energy trapped within the Earth's atmosphere begins to distinctively disrupt climate patterns. Global temperatures rise. No longer bound by the precise conditions that had long sheltered the deep-sea methane pockets from the world, the deceptively simple gaseous waste product, possessing unspeakably debilitating potential mindlessly crafted by the deep ocean microbes, escapes its environmental membrane as it discharges into the ocean's unfathomable volume, buoyantly rising to the stratosphere. The sun's thermal energy is trapped on Earth by a blanket of noxious gas. Global temperatures rise. More methane is released. Global temperatures rise. Thus is the humble ending of life, it is said. Bioterminus. 3. After the end. Well, probably not the end of all life. Some life on Earth will almost certainly survive and proliferate as the planet spins on for her final billion years until the sun, in his violent elderly age, expands rapidly and consumes the only home to life in the universe that we have ever witnessed. A ruthlessly efficient and hauntingly beautiful diversity of life in its many brilliant iterations that will undoubtedly adapt to the new Earth conditions following the 6th global mass extinction is all but certain to remain clinging to this pebble, chucked aimlessly through the stars until the bitter end. It just won't be human life. But does that make it any less special? God, I could have been happy every single day, but my stupid fucking brain wouldn't let me. And now it's too late.